Thank you very much, Michele, and thank you to everybody for inviting me. It's a great pleasure. I was an RNA researcher myself. First of all, I really understand you and I know what you're going through because RNA is rich. People working with RNA are perhaps the most self-damage inflicting people in the world, and I was one of you, so I understand you. The title is a little bit false. You don't go from zero to hero in 3 hours, but I hope you will understand the most difficult parts of doing that and why it is important to avoid at least the most common mistake, and mostly to have a strategy. As you will see, a big part of today will be devoted to strategy, which sometimes people don't understand how important it is to have a strategy for communication. We will do some funny exercises. So, as I told you, I was a researcher myself. This was in Paris during my PhD, and I did my PhD on post-transcriptional regulation on mRNA stability. So it's true. It's a very old thesis. So a little overview of what we are going to do today. As I told you, we were going to talk about strategy, the Martini Rule. Have you ever heard about the Martini Rule in communication? Good. Then we will talk a little bit about the approach, the typical approach of scientists to communication, good and bad. If we have time, I would like to introduce a little bit about the media, which is media, press, and social media. And then we will learn from some bad experience which happened to your colleagues, so you don't do the same mistakes. Okay, let's start with the communication strategy. You think a communication strategy is something very complicated, but it can be very complicated, in fact. But it can also be something very, very simple, something we do every day. So now I will need some volunteers here and there. So I need a volunteer for this exercise. Francisca, okay, good. Francisca, please open your mic.
Hi.
Hello, Francisca. Where are you from?
Portugal.
Portugal, that's great. So, Francisca, we will do a little role play now. Do you have a watch now?
Only my cell phone is okay.
Okay, yeah, hide your cell phone, throw it in the bin. No, it's an iPhone. Don't do it. Imagine now you are in a foreign city. You don't have any watch. You don't see any watchtower. So you have to ask someone.
Okay.
No choice, because you have to take a plane and you can be late. What do you need to do now?
Just approach the first person I see and say, please, can you tell me the hours?
You have a goal. What is your goal?
To find out what time is it.
That's great. Congratulations, Francisca, because you have just reached the first step in communication strategy, which is to have a goal. And actually, not only in communication, but a goal is the first step of every strategy. Now, it's very simple. Now you have to do something else. You will walk on the street, and this is what you see. You can decide which one of these subjects you want to involve in your communication and ask for the time. Which one will you choose?
It's 4.
It's 4.
Because he has a watch.
Yes,
and he's
you're
not
right.
drunk.
And he's not drunk because this one has not a watch and he is drunk.
And he's not
this
Chinese.
Lady here has a watch. This lady here has a watch.
Yeah, but she's really occupied, I figured.
Yes, okay, yeah. The dog, difficult. Yeah,
I guess he won't understand me.
Yeah, the tourists, I'm sure they have a watch.
But I'm sure they are Chinese and are speaking in Chinese and taking pictures and won't listen to me.
Okay, so you have a language barrier. And the minions?
They would say bananas.
They do not trust the minions. Okay, so congratulations, because you have done the second step of your communication strategy, which is to identify a target. You see, it's very easy. It's something we do every day in our life. We actually do a communication strategy, but we don't realize. In just 2 seconds, you have scanned all your potential targets, and you have decided that one was the target you wanted. Maybe I would have chosen the minions because it would be fun. But, in terms of a successful strategy to get that information as soon as possible, I'm sure that was the right choice. So you identify your communication target, but it's not over yet, because you have to do something. Now you have to go to this guy and ask him something. You have to approach the guy. You don't know him. So what do you do, Francisca? There are several ways we can do that, right?
Yeah.
So I can say.
I can say, you have such a nice watch. Can you tell me the hours, please?
Okay, that's very subtle. Okay.
Or can you show me your really nice watch? And I don't even have to ask.
Yeah, there are several ways I could say, hey, you, what's the time? Very informal and maybe rude, or I can be more formal and polite and just be or subtle and say, I'm sorry to bother you, would you tell me, and so on and so on. There are, for sure, there are cultural differences which people should take into account. It depends where you are. The way you do it can change the outcome of your strategy, because someone could be offended and just walk out, or someone in a hurry could just stop and tell you the information you need. So congratulations, Francisca, you have done a third step. Elaborate your message. Okay, that's a very simple but very effective communication strategy. I told you, we do it every day. It's coded in our genes. We just forget it when we communicate science or other things. Sometimes we forget that this is the way. The first step will seem very, very trivial, People would say, yeah, I know I have to have a goal. But I can tell you, I've been doing science communication for 20 years, and I've been working with a lot of researchers. When I approach them and they want to communicate something, they have no precise goal. And we will work on that. The target is another very important thing, because we will do some exercises for that. And then we will try to wrap up a very simple message. Thank you, Francisca.
I actually had a goal, because I wanted to know, where did you get your T-shirt from?
Okay.
Because I'm just...
This is communication too, right? I can communicate with a T-shirt. You have seen my T-shirt, and since you do science, you understand the meaning. It's a code, right? People would understand this, and if you think about it, it's quite complicated, because you have to know many things. But if you are the right target, you understand it in a second, and you like it. With a different target, this wouldn't work. People would often think of communication as something, as they will look at the tip of the iceberg, which is basically writing. I have to write that. I have to prepare that speech, or I have to write that, which in my mind is always writing. Even if you have to prepare if you have to prepare an interview, if you have to prepare a speech, a TV program, it's writing in the broad sense. Okay, take home message that I would like you to get today. When you do this work, this underwater work, well, it's very easy to do the tip of the iceberg. Writing becomes almost a formality, and that's what many people do not understand. They start with a blank page, and they get lost because they haven't done their homework. If you do that, I will guarantee that this will be not trivial, but much more simple. Let's talk about some myths and reality. So if I tell you that science communication means translating science into accessible terms and concepts, this is a definition that I always get from scientists. What would you say? True or false?
True.
True?
True.
True?
True.
Yes, I say
Of course,
true.
it's not really true, maybe false. As I told you, communication is a strategic process. I mean, translating science into accessible terms and concepts is just part of the job description. Of course, we have to translate science into accessible terms and concepts. So this isn't false, but it's just the bare minimum that I have to do for this work. But the real work is to get a strategy, to get an approach which depends on the goal and the targets. And writing, I told you, writing is overrated. I tell you against my own interest because I write for a living, but it is overrated. I get approached by people, even scientists, who don't have any idea of what they want to do. They don't have a goal. They haven't identified a target. They don't have a clear message in their mind. And they just expect that since I am a good writer, I can do all these things for them. This is not the way it works. Communication can communicate things, but cannot create things. Okay? If you don't have a strategy in your mind, and if you don't have a message, a strong message to convey, I can help you to identify the message, but I cannot create something that doesn't exist. If you don't have anything to say, it's very, very difficult, okay? Take in mind the order: goal, target, media, and message, and then you do all the work. Again, this seems trivial, but I can guarantee that every time I get approached by, especially by scientists, but many kind of people, everybody starts from here, and they have just the urgency of writing something, of doing something. Typically, we'll call you and say, next week we have to do a presentation with 1,000 people, but they haven't done all this work. So maybe they don't have the right target. Okay, or we have to open a website, but they haven't done this work. They just woke up and said, let's open a website. Maybe the website is not the right tool for their target or their goals. You don't know, and so on and so on. So people usually start with the product, but the product, as the name suggests, is the product of a strategy. Otherwise, we will put the horse before the cart. If you don't see a horse here and you see cows, it's because the original slide was in Italian, and in Italy we put cows before the cart, not horses. Okay, so we have different say. Again, this is a communication problem. Let's see the difference between a goal and a wish. A wish is something I would like to do. In general, I would like to happen. A goal is something that I can make happen. It's realistic. And it's measurable. Just like the goal of your work, of research. If you put in together a grant proposal, you can't just put wishful thinking. You have to identify goals that are measurable, because you have to produce something and you have to produce deliverable. So it's more or less is the same concept. If you condense the idea of a communication goal, is to influence perception, which is basically to make people understand something or change their mind about something. People could keep their mind, could remain of the same opinion, but in a different way. because they have the right information in corporate communication, for example, or in public communication, institutional communication. There is a goal of persuasion. I want people to see things differently. Another important goal is to motivate actions. I don't just want people to perceive something as different, but a call to action, what is called the call to action. The call to action. If you work with social media, you may be familiar with this term. Every time you see an ad, on Facebook, you have a button and say everything is made to make you click on the button. That's called a call to action. What I care and what I measure with the metrics is whether you click or not. So I create a product that is engineered to lead your attention towards the button, because I want you to do that. And that's a call to action. And that, again, this is communication. I know what the target is. I know what the goal is to lead you to my website, for example, or to my product, okay? A call to action, you see it every day when you receive an email or whatever, but the principle is the same. The call to action can be to click on the button, or to protest on the street against something, or to give money to a charity, to give money to research, okay? You name it. A good communication strategy will change the people's perception of your target, and or motivate their action, lead them to do something. You have to decide beforehand what do you want to obtain, so that you can measure it afterwards. Everybody is familiar with the term KPI, key performance indicators. Okay, whenever you do a strategy, communication strategy or any strategy, you will be confronted with KPI. So key performance indicators, which are basically the indicators of success. So it's not easy to find a KPI for that. I tell you, because I did some activities with that goal. It turned out that measuring the success of the activity was more expensive than the whole activity, because you have to follow these guys along the years and see if they actually pursued a STEM career. Not easy, Again, it is a goal, but it can become wishful thinking if you don't think ahead about the actual implication. Let's do a little exercise. Which of these are real communication goals?